completely false. So let me start. Let me just jump in. Okay. The series is called Atheism or Death, and Sam, I will share the slides with you so that you can review them and use them yourself. And we're going to talk about the atheist cult of reason, because atheism, modern atheism, literally started as a cult, and it was called the cult of reason. It was a religious cult. And yeah, we'll talk about its earlier history, but we're going to talk about its history of socialism, of violence and subversion, and also its very close connections to Satanism and to the occult. So, okay, starting off with Carl Sagan. Now, Carl Sagan, he's friends, and when you read about him, they all profess, or they all state, and he professed that he was an agnostic. However, for all intents and purposes, he was an atheist. He spoke like an atheist. He argued like an atheist. So, from what I've read of him, he may as well have been an atheist. I think many people just claim to be agnostic because they don't want to deal with the stress of being called an atheist for whatever reason in their culture, in their company. It's something difficult to deal with. So for social reasons, he says an atheist is someone who is certain that God does not exist. So he clearly has never heard the modern atheist definition of atheism. Someone who has compelling evidence against the existence of God. I know of no such compelling evidence. Now, this is where atheists jump out and say, Carl Sagan is not my scholar. Right? Because they say, no. An atheist can make up his own gender. We don't follow the dictionary. Right? Sorry, his own definition. My bad. It's the same thing. Right? And he says here, God can be relegated to remote times and places and to ultimate causes. We would have to know a great deal more about the universe than we do know to be sure that no such God exists. So I would call on this at least that maybe atheists are jumping the gun a little too quickly here, but yeah, I've had atheists say that I'm lying about this, that this is a false quote, that and the whole usual Islamic not my scholar thing. Right, but understand, I just thought I'd start with this to annoy people. Right. Now, socialist atheism is a political religion. You cannot separate atheism from socialism. Socialism is a precursor, a requirement for socialism. Atheism is a precursor, requirement for socialism, and the two are integrated. So, the claims I'm going to make, and we're going to back this up through the series, socialism is a socio-political religion. It is a theocracy. It is a simulacrum of Christianity. Secular humanism is an atheist religious doctrine. It is a simulacrum of Christianity. It is, in other words, a copy of, it's a fake imitation, a cheap Chinese knockoff of Christianity. Atheism is religious, and it is inherently socialist and theocratic. Atheism and humanism are religions as per the US Supreme Court. Atheists went to the Supreme Court to argue that they are a religion, and the Supreme Court agreed. So atheists spent a lot of time and money to be formally recognized as a religion. So when the village atheist, which rhymes with village idiot, claims that atheism is not a religion, I refer you to the US Supreme Court. And the atheists who insisted, these highly educated atheist organizations with their money and their lawyers, they insisted they are a religion. And of course, now we're going to hear they're not real atheists. Any comments, Sam, before I continue?
So this is all documented, because this is news to me, that atheists petitioned the US Supreme Court. Now, atheism is recognized as a religion.
As a religion. Yes, we'll get into all this.
Okay.
Sorry?
That's all I want to know, because this is documented, because this is news to me. It's the first time I knew this. And because the atheists won't tell you, but you got the documentation. Glory to God.
There's a reason. So there's this series could easily be 9 or 10 shows, right, on different topics, because they had to realize afterwards they made a mistake. Because now the law would apply to them and they could not proselytize, because atheism is a proselytizing religion like Islam. The problem is now that this put the same restrictions on Christianity that have now been imposed through lawfare on Christian doctrine in public places and schools and so on. So they had to deny being a religion so that they could claim that they are just pushing secular beliefs as opposed to, and that is true, Keo. That is 100% correct. Atheism and secular humanism are historically violent and irrational. Oh, I see a violent and irrationality. Sorry, I just changed that. So let me fix my little typo there. Okay, violent and irrational. Yeah, I changed that sentence, so that's why that changes. They're violent and irrational. Atheism and humanism are proselytizing religions like Islam. Atheism in government is invariably totalitarian and genocidal. So a picture can express 1,000 words. So here's 2,000 words on atheism, and we're going to go through this presentation and we're going to show you exactly why. Right. So we'll start with modern atheism's roots. We go back about to the beginning of the 1700s, to roughly the mid-1700s, especially in France during the Enlightenment. And we're going to learn a great deal about that. This is a man called Diderot. He is an atheist philosopher. He wrote a lot about how to create social change, etc., etc. He wrote what was called he was one of the contributors to the Encyclopédie, which was a new encyclopedia of science. Science was replacing religion. This whole superstition was being replaced with this new idea, this new ideology of scientism, which atheism is obviously part of. And he wrote that, now don't forget, the Enlightenment is something atheists always appeal to as the age of reason, the age of rationality, and they appeal to all of these Enlightenment figures, these Enlightenment philosophers. And we're going to see just how racist and debauched, depraved, and satanic these people all were, and psychopathic too. So atheism in Diderot and d'Alembert's Encyclopédie is the opinion of those who deny the existence of a God in the world. The simple ignorance of God does not constitute atheism. To be charged with the odious, the dirty title of atheism, one must have the notion of God and reject it. Right, so this is where modern atheism starts. Right, now atheists will make all sorts of wonderful claims for their past. We'll get into all of that. But this is where modern atheism starts. It is to know there's a God and deny it. You can't simply have you can't simply have a little feelings that there's no God. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll discuss all that. With Voltaire, he advocated the destruction of religion. He once stated that he wanted to live long enough to see the last king strangled by the entrails of the last priest, implying he wanted to see the monarchy and Christianity violently destroyed. Pre-Enlightenment science did not exist as a motivator to push people to atheism. Back then, science was in its infancy, providing evidence that less academic factors were at play. Atheism is propagandized as intellectual, and in the future I will go through this history. I will go in detail through the history. Historically, it is linked to political and social factors, and it's a reaction to the establishment of the time. Basically, it is a belief that is in opposition to the status quo. It is always in opposition. Think about it. What is the opposite of theism? The opposite of theism is atheism. So atheism is not a default position. It is a reaction to theism. So Sam, your thoughts before I continue.
So this quote that you just showed, and I'll try not to interject as much, strangled by the entrails of the last priest. So that tells you that atheism is intentionally violent and wants to not only eradicate religion, but people that believe it, huh? So it's just like
it is revolutionary. Yes, like it is jihadist. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right. Just want people to see that when atheists tell you they just want to be free of religion. No, they want to eradicate people with their religion, not just religion. Watch this.
Right, so no, atheism was not founded upon the slaying of God by the sword of reason, which is the image they try to evoke. It was simply rebellion against church and state with the intent to establish a new utopian state, with a new man in the image of man, not God.